What is learning without facts? What is discovery without order? What is the human being without memory? What then is history? When does a perception like I think, probably, and perhaps change to a certain truth? When does belief change to knowledge?
What I have learned from looking in documents is that there's no question what I have seen in the total overall documents that I've had access to. I have seen a lot of historical pieces of information clarified for the first time ever. There's no question. And the first time you see something where other publishers or writers have come up with a firm statement, which none of us should ever do. We should just say, oh, well, I guess, I feel, the document indicates, this kind of thing. But pinpoints an exact event. And when that happens, then you can start filling in historical timelines and historical events. And that's critical in this kind of research.
The Paul Mauser Archive exists so that in the future, memory may be preserved. It is the merger of highest technology, original material, and worldwide distribution. It organizes and makes available the history of one of Europe's great industrial innovators, Peter Paul von Mauser. Confidant of emperors, innovator of technology, benefactor to his people, and prominent manager of industry, Paul Mauser was unique in many ways, a leader of men and women, and a very complex man. Unlike the unknown history of many of Europe's leading industrialists, the archive provides a window into the life of the man that was Paul Mauser, a view of his thinking, background on his experiences, and facts about the world he lived in. The industrial age may have started in 1760 in England, and later in other nations, but the refinements of turbine power, interchangeable parts, and the processes and organization of great industries also depended on the vision and skills of men and women who became increasingly specialized. Embracing the traditions of guilds and apprenticeship, it was a new world economy based on manufacturing. Nowhere was this transition more applicable than in the mass production of firearms, and nowhere was the demand greater than industrialized Europe. By 1860, as this and other major industries grew and the long-term impact was felt, government control of the arms industry in the form of royal arsenals began to give way to private industry. This is the world that Peter Paul von Mauser entered as a youth in the village of Oberndorf am Neckar, Germany. A quick scan of internet resources will tell you that not many historical archives of industrial activity exist, and fewer still personal archives document the lives of great industrialists. State archives tell us about government, and some great industrial firms have maintained business records. But what of the people behind these organizations? Many industrialists were too busy and focused on business operations to preserve their own personal materials. In some cases, when organizations did value these documents, they were stored but never organized, and often discarded with the entry of new leaders. Many were destroyed in catastrophic wars that changed the European landscape, or innovation that made the entire industry obsolete.
So the Paul Mauser Private Archive have been saved just before the French forces occupied Oberdorf in April 1945. And some locals, Mauser workers, engineers, managers, decided to save part of this material.
Alex Seidel, Walter Schmidt, and John Speed have been among the most active Mauser historians involved in archival conservation and research. Another authority in this field that built up a large collection of materials on all arms firms was Hans Bertlachoven. Joining them are Mauro Baudino, curator of the Paul Mauser Archive, and Gerben van Vlimmeren, authors of Paul Mauser, His Life, Company, and Handgun Development. So here in the Paul Mauser Archive we have something unique. Mauser himself was a responsible business manager, delivering innovations well beyond personal charity. Retirement plans for valued workers, a Mauser innovation. Healthcare provided by the company well before government or other industries thought of the concept. Paul Mauser was appreciated and respected by his workers, and this led to some very fortunate things for historians. Mauser employees protected the memory and heritage of their company and of Paul Mauser himself. As 2 wars threatened Mauser facilities, and as the region, city, and factory were occupied by foreign forces, Mauser workers took many of the most important documents and photographs home to remote farms, village centers, and basements. Some items were hidden under the Mauser complex buildings in sewers and passageways. Some ended up in boxes hidden under straw in remote barns. But most importantly, the original materials survived. The Paul Mauser Archive has worked for the past decade to identify, acquire, assemble, and curate these materials, making much of it available to the world in digital form. The archives have been the basis for a comprehensive book on the life of Paul Mauser, and have contributed to detailed understanding of his part in world history and the industrial age of Europe.